If someone had told you before last night's playoff opener at Oklahoma City, the Pelicans would hold the Thunder at 94 points and have the ball last, you likely would be thinking to yourself, hell yeah, stealing game one. When you only have 9 free throw attempts and score just 2 points in the final 3.5 minutes, well, you know that's a formula for giving away a Golding, are you here? Golden opportunity. The good news for local sports fans, I think, is it's NFL draft week. Garland, Gillen is here, and we'll talk Pelicans, the prospects for LSU receivers Malik, Nabers, and Brian Thomas on Thursday night, and what the Saints might do on day 2. Maybe that's the best opportunity for them to trade down. And it's coming up next on the Dattitude podcast.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, New Orleans? And hello to all my friends elsewhere, everywhere out there who had to go rummaging through their recently cleaned closets for a sweater or a sweatshirt because they walked outside this morning and said, what the hell is this? See what happens when Margaret Orr retires? It's winter in late April. Hey, I'm not complaining. Anyone who knows me even a little bit knows how much I loathe summer, so enjoy it as long as we can because it won't be here for long. There he goes, talking about the weather again. Jesus Christ. It's a sports show. Yeah, it is. It's Dattitude. It's presented by Evangeline Securities. It is episode number 229 for a Monday, April the 22nd, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Derry. Whether you are watching on one of our NOLA.com social media channels or listening to the pod, as always, I thank you for being a part of the Dattitude family. If you're watching live, you should know this by now. You can join in by typing in your comment or question on YouTube, Facebook, or X. And if Gabe Henderson leaves it up long enough, we will show it and read it on the air and respond. Because if he leaves it up, I'm going to read it. If you're listening after the fact or have us on your podcast, on Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, you can send in a comment via email to jderry@theadvocate.com. Also, a friendly reminder while we're getting all of our business out of the way. If you haven't subscribed to the Dattitude podcast, this is the perfect week to do so on YouTube because we're going to have a live show coming up on Thursday, kind of joining forces with the Saints Insider crew. We're going to talk about that later on. You'll want to be a part of that for sure. Before we get started, though, I wanted to give a shout out to a guy named Patrick Spezio. He wrote me last week and said, quote, "Hey, Derry, I'm from New Orleans, born and raised. Great show. I'm in California right now. Your show got me through my second chemo treatment." Patrick, that is awesome. That may be the best comment I've ever received since we started this show. It's kind of cool. You know, that note makes me feel great about what we're doing here in our reset of the show that we started back in March. And besides the numbers being great, to have someone tell you they're listening while they try to beat cancer is pretty damn awesome. So shout out to you, Patrick. We're thinking about you. And when you ring that bell, let us know so we can have you on the show. So Patrick Spezio is a future guest to the Dattitude podcast at some point. Just a couple of minutes, going to be welcoming in Garland, Gillen of Fox 8. So we can just talk happy, joy about the New Orleans Pelicans. Oh, sigh. Brian's still a Pels fan. Do we think that the Pels can win this series? Of course. Of course we do. I mean, it's game one. Look, again, the first thing we're going to talk about with Garland coming up is how hard is it going to be for them to regroup after this game one? They had it. You know, down 10 with 10 to play, Pels made a furious comeback. I'm going to tell you what the turning point was, though, in my mind. The worst thing that could have happened to this team was the fact that, you know, the Thunder challenged that call, that out-of-bounds call, and they originally called it a jump ball because they couldn't tell who it went off of. And the Pels won the challenge in essence, or Oklahoma City was denied the challenge, lost the timeout in the challenge. But to me, that call with 2:40 left kind of changed everything. The Pels were up 90-88 at the time. But it was a good 3 to 4 minute delay. And, to me, that stole all the Pels momentum. They had, again, this furious comeback. They did a great job on defense, especially to me in the fourth quarter. Forced a lot of misses. But, they went back to being tenuous after that. It looked like a bunch of rookies out there. They didn't know where to go with the ball. They didn't know what to do. They played like they had a 10-point lead and were trying to milk the clock. So I'm not sure what Larry Nance, by the way, was doing there with the soft floater. Got rejected by Chet Holmgren, sent into the Thunder side of the court. That really was kind of the beginning of the end of me. And look, CJ's shot nearly went in there at the end, but why didn't anyone else touch the ball in the final 14 seconds? No setting something up there inside. And Valanciunas was outstanding. He didn't play a whole lot in the final minute. So, I don't know. We're going to bring in Garland Gillen and get his thoughts. By the way, Brian's asking, is Zion going to play in this series? Well, we'll see what Mr. Gillen thinks. And we have a first here on the Dattitude podcast, by the way. Garland Gillen is here on the screen, and we don't have any technical difficulties. I don't even know what to say. I'm just so happy you're here, and we don't have to try to do weird things.
Hey, shout out to Kelsey Davis. She's right over here. She hooked it up. So there's 50 buttons on our OTT desk at Fox 8, but Kelsey hooked it up. That's why you see me perfectly. Sound, video, everything. The Fox 8 family always taking care of me.
Well, thanks to Kelsey Davis. We thank you.
Indeed.
We watch Kelsey in the mornings with John Snell, and we love Fox 8. And thank you for coming on the show, Garland. All right, let's talk Pels here and a heartbreaker last night. We've been saying heartbreaker quite a few times in the last couple of weeks. But to me, last night was kind of one of the heartbreakers of heartbreakers, because it looked like, to me, when they grabbed that momentum and they came back, it just felt like, to me, they were going to win. They didn't play their best basketball, not even close. But some things that stick out when you look at this is a shooting percentage, and it ended up at 38.5%, but it felt worse than that. But Brandon Ingram, 5 of 17, Herb Jones, 2 of 10. CJ was better, but man, it just those last 2.5 minutes were brutal.
It all laid out. This is the youngest 1 seed in NBA history, the roster for the Thunder. They came out not on fire in the first quarter. Was ugly for both sides, but that was a chance for the Pelicans to grab them by the throat in that first quarter. It was not a strong performance by the Thunder. I listened to Bill Simmons, Ryan Russillo on their podcast more. They pointed out at the deadline the Thunder should have made a move for a center, and you could tell that Jonas Valanciunas and those guys were eating him up inside. It was good to see Jonas was effective, but at the end of the game, they still went back to what they've been used to, and they bring in Larry Nance Jr. in. But let's be honest, Jim, they were 9-point dogs in this game. Everybody was picking against the Pelicans. This was their time to take a little control of the series here. If you steal a game in Oklahoma City and maybe get Zion back for game 6 or 7, you're looking in positive direction. But you missed 3 3-pointers in a row. Under a minute to go, you had a chance to take the lead. Then Nance gets his shot blocked, and then SGA hits the and one. CJ McCollum had open 3 at the end, didn't make it. Too many missed opportunities. This is a game that the Pelicans should have won, and this series could have been much different. I think it's probably destined for 5-game series right now, with the Thunder still looking like a heavy favorite to move on.
Did you feel like they were lost puppies there the last 2.5 minutes? I mean, it's one thing this team really hasn't done a whole lot of. They have always, even in losing efforts and even when they aren't shooting the ball well, it always seems like they have confidence and they know where to go with the basketball. And last night, they just didn't look like they had any kind of plan the last 2.5 minutes. And again, I'm going to go back to that long delay, and it took all the steam out of their sails. But to me, I'm not sure what happened there. They didn't know where they wanted to go with the ball. They didn't know who was going to shoot. No one seemed to want to take charge, and they took too many threes.
And it also comes down to who's the alpha dog on this team. Brandon Ingram, we talked about this the other day on Locked On Pelicans podcast, came on my final bet, Jake Madison. And we talked about how Brandon Ingram has 1 year left on his contract. Okay, he's going to ask for big money this offseason. You need to show us that you're worth big money this offseason. And as you alluded to at the top, 5 of 17 shooting, 12 points. I mean, that's not your alpha guy, okay? I don't know. I still don't know who the alpha is when Zion's off the court. When Zion's there, he's the alpha guy. The problem is, obviously, he's not there. You at least got to be optimistic he'll be back in 2 weeks, because I think this is the healthiest he's ever been off the court, stamina, weight, everything like that. It's just hamstrings are hamstrings. You can't get around it. But there's still no dominant guy on the Pelicans offense there. And, I know a lot of people are going to try to pin it on Willie Green. It is what it is. They couldn't score at the end. And, the Thunder are the 1 seed for a reason. And they hit him when it mattered most. SGA is up for MVP, and there's a reason. He hit an and one at the end. He hit some clutch jumpers.
Yeah, but I thought they did well with him. I mean, he shot 11 of 24, which is, it's okay. But I mean, if you're talking about the star player shooting 11 of 24, I mean, it is what it is. Gabe says MVP and clutch player of the year. Yeah, maybe. And he did hit the clutch shot, but it should never really come to that. My question, you want to know who the alpha dog could be, especially in this series? You talk about a team going against a team. This is the best possible matchup for the Pelicans of the top 3. You don't want anything to do with Denver. You don't match up well with Minnesota, in my opinion. So the Pels, if there is anything such as a break, getting the 8 seed instead of the 7 seed and getting in, is the fact that if somehow you can find a way to win this series, we know that match up well with the Clippers. Maybe not as much with the Mavs, but you worry about that down the line. But here's my thing. Going back to your original point, who's going to be the alpha dog? The alpha dog on this team right now is Jonas Valanciunas. He had 20 rebounds last night. He was dominating. And, yeah, he missed some close-in shots, but I don't understand why he wasn't the one. If he takes that hook shot instead of Nance putting up the floater that gets knocked, into Tulsa, then I think they score there. And that's all. If that basket goes in, that finish is completely different, in my opinion.
Yeah, it shoulda, coulda, woulda. I want to use I use the "is what it is" from Sean Payton. It shoulda, coulda, woulda from Jim Warren. I'm bringing back all the Saints hits right now. It's one basket here, one basket there, Jim. And I will be honest with you here. I think if Zion played from game 1, I think the Pelicans would possibly be a favorite to win this series.
I agree.
I think that they're
no
not
answer for him.
No, they're not strong inside. Okay, Chet Holmgren is like a scarecrow out there. I mean, he's so skinny, but he can, he's kind of got a lot of Kevin Durant qualities there. They can hit shots, but there's no guys inside that can crush you. Now outside, they definitely can work you there. I mean, Lou Dort did a number on Brandon Ingram. It's a little stranger that Jonas, maybe when they had that break and play where they missed the 3 3-pointers and they had a ball out on the side, Jonas was killing him inside. I was intrigued to see why they didn't bring him back in for that basket there also as another thing, a coulda, woulda, shoulda.
And I'm not getting on Willie because I've been on the show before. I mean, there are actually, sorry if you're one of these people, I love you. I want you to stay part of the Dattitude family, but I'm going to say this anyway. If you think Willie Green should be fired, you're a moron. There are people out there that actually are saying this. So, again, you're talking about a 42-year-old coach that is learning on the job and a team that has improved by 5 wins, then 6 wins, then 7 wins, and has them in a place, think of all the games this weekend. Most of them weren't very competitive, Garland, and the Pels went in Oklahoma City and played outstanding defensively, but their star players just couldn't get the job done.
It was the best game all weekend, if you really look at it. I mean, all 8 home teams won round 1, game 1 for the first time since 2013. And it was in jeopardy in that last game there that all home teams were going to win. It was, even though it was a messy game and sometimes downright ugly, it was still a very highly entertaining matchup. And it was a great way into the weekend because, my goodness, Jim, there was a ton of stinkers this weekend in the NBA. A lot of games that I looked at the score and I was like, nope, I'm out already. I mean, it was just straight up ugly. I mean, between the Bucks, Pacers, Celtics, Heat, I mean, you name it. There were some really tough games to even check out for a couple of minutes.
Dame time, 35 first half points.
First half, he just took the second. He just took the second half off. He didn't score again.
They didn't need him. In fact, it's funny because I had all kinds of issues yesterday. My wife's out of town, whatever. But I meant to go bet an under prop on his points in the second half, and I forgot. I didn't think he would score 0, but I'm like, I bet you somewhere there's the way to bet that he scores under 40 for the game, and I forgot to go look. So, but anyway, it is what it is. But yeah, look, and Gabe brings up a good point, and you do, just because I'm critical of Willie from last night, because I don't think he did a great job last night. Let's be honest. I think there were some misses. By no means does that mean he should be fired. That's just ridiculous talk. But Gabe asked, and I meant to put this as a note in my script here and forgot. But what the hell? 13 seconds into the second quarter, he's calling a timeout. Have you ever seen that before?
That was very bizarre. It was very surprising. I think even the announcers were like, "That was quick." I mean, just
I
one
had to make sure they really called it. I thought that he called timeout, and then they said it, and yeah, I mean, Didi's was like, "What the hell?" Spiro Didi's was like, "I don't know what's going on."
I was really hoping they were going to do a full TV timeout, because I was like, all right, here we go. Second quarter, 13 seconds in. They're like, oh, great. We're going to go to another 3-minute TV timeout. I was like, fantastic. Now I feel like we're in the NFL where they score a touchdown, they go to commercial break, and then they do the kickoff and they go to another commercial break.
I know. That's Fox Sports. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, hey, they all do it. They all do that move.
Mark Satanovich says Jonas played really well. He did. He threw Chet Holmgren around like a rag doll. And this is kind of what we've been talking about. Why wasn't Jonas in the end, in there at the end? Look, he definitely played more last night than he had been. And I went and looked. I didn't know what his minutes were, and I looked, and he played 29 minutes. So, but that's still not good. He's 5-9 from the field. He didn't take a whole lot of shots. I mean, he only to only take 9 shots. He went to the free throw line. The only Pels player on the court that took more than 2 free throws. I mean, they have also, Garland, they have got to get to the line. I mean, you can't beat a team like this when you're dominating inside and only get 9 free throws. Free throw attempts, not make 9. They only had 9 free throw attempts.
No, and you know what? When you got a team that can hit you on the perimeter on defense, take them inside. I mean, take it to the basket. More slash in there. Jacking up threes all night long is not going to win you a lot of games, especially at the percentage clip they were shooting threes at last night. A lot of at least they know what they got to fix. Though the problem is that the Thunder can also figure out what they need to fix there. I will say this: I'm not a night owl anymore. I'm getting older. These 8:40, 8:45 tip-offs are not doing me any justice here. I'll look forward to Saturday when the game is at 2 p.m. on Saturday. That'll be much better. But you got to fight it. I made it through there.
Garland likes to get up in the mornings and run down St. Charles Avenue and do his little Garland on the Avenue podcast on Twitter.
Yeah. Hey, everything you and I have talked about on this Dattitude, I touched on all that this morning on Garland on the Avenue. Yeah, I got them all. I got all those little nuggets in there. Actually, as you said off the top, an absolutely beautiful morning. This is gonna be a perfect week. I hope this weather stays in between. I'm gonna be at the Zurich Classic a lot this week. Their PGA Tour. Jazz Fest kicks off on Thursday. And then the other guys at the NFL draft, they'll be inside for 3 days. So they're not going to really get to see the sun for the next 3 days.
That'll be me. That'll be me as well, for sure. Dattitude podcast on this Monday morning brought to you by Evangeline Securities. We thank our new friends at Evangeline Securities for being the title sponsor of the Dattitude podcast. Here with Garland Gillen, April 22nd. It's hard to believe it's April 22nd already, by the way. I mean, you do all this draft prep for like many weeks. Really, as soon as the Super Bowl, I take a couple weeks off. I enjoy Mardi Gras. I take some time off in February, and I take some time off in July or June or July. And that's all you get, really. And so it makes time go super fast. But, here we are, Pelicans in the playoffs, and now they have to rebound, Garland. Let's talk about the future now. We've talked about yesterday. You look at their odds now. And I'll still say it. It's still a value. In fact, it's ridiculous. I think they are now plus 14,000, which means if you were to bet $100, and okay, people are either saying, no way, no. Don't be Shaq or Chuck who say this series was over before it started, because it's not. I mean, this team can win this series. It's still a good matchup. If they win game 2, they're in a great, you did exactly what you wanted to do. But plus 14, you bet $100 on the Pels, or bet $10. You bet $10 on the Pelicans to win the NBA championship, and they somehow do it. You'd win $1,400. You can't tell me that if they played it 140 times that it wouldn't happen. Come on, man.
Oh, to win the championship, huh? Not get through the series,
Well, I mean,
this first series.
Conference championship plus 6,500 still. So, I mean, I'm just saying. This, you know, I know I'm normally Derry Downer, so I don't know why I'm so high, but I still feel like this team, if they can get, here's the key to me.
All right.
The key to me is getting to game 6, because there's a potential that Zion could be back for a game 6. If you get to a game 6 and you play a winner-take-all game, you force a game 7 and a winner-take-all game in Oklahoma City. I know we're looking way ahead. All sorts of things have to happen. But the Pels actually have the best part of this bracket. To me, if you're going to be the 8 seed, it couldn't really be set up for you any better to have a chance.
No, I mean, you're right. This is the team that you want to play. I mean, I know that Mike Greenberg was getting absolutely crushed last week and get up for his idiotic take about they should bench LeBron and AD against the Pelicans so they could get the 8th seed. I mean, you're going to play, but that was the only way I thought the Lakers had a shot to get to the next round, was if they got the Thunder. They have a much better chance of beating the Thunder. The Nuggets, I think, are just the Lakers had a little shot in that game the other night, and then Jokic just absolutely took over in that contest. They got a bunch of beasts. You're not getting through that team. That's why, Jim, you're talking about the championship odds and the conference odds.
But if you played it 140 times, if you played this out 140 times, okay,
all right,
I think the Pels are going to win one. I mean, I think they would get to the conference out of 140. I'd say they get to the conference championship maybe, I don't know, 15 or 20 out of 140. So, I mean, you win that, one side? I don't know. I mean, I just think that the value is there. The numbers are there. So I'm not saying, look, don't go and bet anything because I tell you to go bet anything. I mean, but, Corey says, great take. See, Corey's on my side.
So wait, are we now in the Dumb and Dumber phase of betting here? Lloyd Christmas,
call it. I mean,
yeah, Lloyd Christmas.
You're dumb.
No, I'm using the line from Dumb and Dumber. Lloyd Christmas. So you're telling me there's a chance, huh? You're telling me there's a chance.
There's a chance. You're telling me there's a I mean, look. I mean, again, people always get down on me for being negative, and sometimes I am. I call it the way that I see it, but I just think that this team still has a legitimate chance. Gabe's in the background saying if they lose game 2, the series is over. No, I don't think so. Even if they lose game 2, I mean, you come home, and I know they stunk at home, but that doesn't mean that they're going to stink at home again. I just think this team matches up with Oklahoma City. I think that's going to be, we'll talk about going forward. Game 2, you got to shake game 1 off, which is hard. And I know we've all watched this before. How do you think they bounce back in game 2?
I think they just know to push it more inside. Okay. I think they know that they can eat them up inside. Maybe the Jonas Valanciunas show. I mean, what, he had 20 boards
20
last
boards.
Night?
20
that
boards.
Is, hey, and he's going to be a free agent this offseason. You don't think he's going to want to show?
He's getting paid.
Yeah.
And somebody will use him more than 25, 28. I mean, 29 minutes last night, but that's honestly, that's not what he's been playing as of late. He'll get played a lot more than that somewhere else.
Yeah, no, I want to see more of Jonas in game 2. I know they love that lineup with Larry Nance, so I know he has more athleticism there, but the offense sometimes can trump the defense. But you know what, Brandon Ingram had a poor performance against the Lakers, and then he turned it around against the Kings. He's got to do the same thing in game 2 because game 1 he didn't show up. Game 2 it needs to do much better. I'm assuming we can't use the injury as a excuse anymore because of his performance last week. So he should be back. CJ McCollum, I'd expect more from. Yeah, I'd expect more.
Good, but he was better.
Yeah. And hey, you know what? I'm waiting for that breakout trigger Trey Murphy game. Okay, like just like give me like 7, 8. Yeah. he's getting there. He's getting there. I mean, I'm waiting for that one where he goes out for like 8 or 9 threes and like just blows the top off this place. So hit him from the outside with Trey, and then let's work him inside with Larry Nance Jr. and Jonas Valanciunas there. I know one thing: the nerves will be out of OKC. I don't think they're going to come out as flat as they did this game they did against Sunday. But Wednesday night, again, Jim, they're heavy underdogs. The Pelicans, they're 8-point dogs.
Which is a point and a half more than they were Sunday night.
Yeah. So the bettors are still all down on the Pelicans there. I think they're assessing that the Thunder were a fluke the way they played, and they'll do much better on Wednesday night.
Another positive for this team, in my opinion, is the fact that they have been able to bounce back from stuff like this before. They have been able to overcome adversity to some extent. They have been able to win when they absolutely had to win. They didn't stay out of the playing game, so that's one you could say, well, Derry, you're wrong about that. But I think Trey Murphy is on the verge of becoming a star in this league. If you lose BI, I think he's going to kind of step in that role. He's not completely the same player, but one thing, and I said it to start off, BI, first of all, he didn't have that same look in his eye that he had in the playing game. He had that look in the playing game like, it ain't happening. Last night, he just, especially early on, Garland, I thought he was forcing way too much, and it just didn't work. The mid-range shot that worked throughout his entire career just isn't falling the same way this year.
No, you're right. They call the Pelicans a young team, but it's like a mixture.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, they
weird.
got some young pieces, but this is like a half and half team. You got some old guys in there like CJ and Jonas, and I wouldn't put Ingram on the old guy. He's like in the
20s.
middle. Yeah. And then the other side you got Herb and Murphy and Zion and Jose Alvarado. So you got some young guys, Dyson Daniels also. So I think it's a mixture. I don't think you call the Pelicans a young team because they got some old blood on that team also. Hey, I will say this. At least, with the older guys, I mean, you got extended time off here between each of these games. I mean, a game Wednesday and then a game again on Saturday. I think that definitely plays into the Pelicans' favor.
I agree.
And it'd be a good one on Wednesday night, man. I'm not completely going to rule out the Pelicans just yet. I think it's just really going to be really hard.
Mark Statanovich a little while ago, one of the comments did mention that Saturday game is an afternoon game, so it'll be interesting to see how the crowd shows up with Jazz Fest going on, Zurich Classic. This is a crazy weekend in New Orleans with the draft. It couldn't be any crazier. I mean, there's so much going on. You got ADHD going on, trying to figure out where to go, trying to figure out what to look at. And honestly, I'm going to have to find time, figure out a way. I'm actually broadcasting a baseball playoff series on Saturday, so I'm probably going to miss the entire game.
On
Saturday afternoon. Yeah, I didn't know they were playing Saturday. Not that it would have mattered anyway. This is our last week on a baseball and varsity sports now, but hey, man. So let's hope they can win Wednesday and find a way to rock the Smoothie King on Saturday.
Yeah, that'd be big, and I hope your watchers and your listeners have checked out a few of your calls on VS and the Newman game the other day. I was about to call you to make sure your blood pressure was down and you were doing okay. I mean, Jim Rapier must have been like, his ears must have been burning after that one, man. You were super hyped after that call.
He's used to it, but I mean, when you have, and I made a joke on the air about it, but going into the bottom of the 7th, not that anybody wants to hear about Newman baseball, but I'll just say this real quick. Going into the bottom of the 7th, Newman was down 10-4, and I said, well, they only need 6 to tie, 7 to win. Let's see if they can do it in the bottom of the 7th, and by God, they did it. So it was a crazy. You can find it we got the highlights on X if you want to go check out at Jim Derry Jr. Garland just giving me segues to shout outs. All right, before we move on to the draft, because that's what people want to hear about the draft and our thoughts coming up. We're going to talk about LSU and we're going to talk about the Saints. But give me your prediction on the rest of this series and where you think you go. I think I got the, what you were alluding to, where you're going to go with this.
Yeah, the betting favorite going into the series was the Thunder in 5. You know what? I'm gonna go a tick up. I'll say Thunder in 6. You know what? I think that the Pelicans can possibly win either both at home and make this go back, and then maybe steal one on the road. I think this is Thunder in 6 because this is a young team that Oklahoma City has there, and they got some talent. But I think that you definitely have some optimism to see what the Pelicans did inside.
I'm going to say I don't think they're going to lose. If they get to game 6, and especially if Zion plays, not that he would or wouldn't, that's probably a little too early. It's close. But I'm still going to say I think they'll find a way. They're going to make this the most exciting series of the first round. I think last night was evidence of that. I think they're going to lose the series as well, but I think they're going to lose it in 7. I think it's going to be Heartbreak City in Oklahoma City on May the 5th, and I hope I'm wrong. If they get to a game 7, though, then that's quite a fun run for sure. So, all right, let's move on, Garland. And I know we talked about this the last time you were on the show, but I think you're the best guy to talk about this and LSU wide receivers in the first round. I think it's all but a fait accompli that both of these guys are going to go in the first round. In fact, I think it's a fait accompli they're both going to go in the top 20 picks. Before I talk about the local angle on it, now you see the numbers. These are PFF ranks, but I've seen some mock drafts lately where Malik Nabers has fallen as low as 9, 12, 13. If he falls to 14, this is going to be an interesting scenario there.
Well, I will say this. I think I posted it the other day on X also. Circa had Malik Nabers over under draft pick as 5.5.
Yeah.
And I think Malik is going to be a top 10 guy, but I saw him at like 6 or 7. Like I thought that was an intriguing one. And I think the same thing with Brian Thomas Jr., where his over under was 16.5. And I think he'll go in the first round, but I think it's going to be more like 18, 19, 20, 20. Yeah. So, the problem is Circa is not in Louisiana. I'm waiting for maybe some of these other sports books that are local will post those kind of odds there. Cause I was like, those are intriguing ones to kind of, make a little money off there. But Malik Nabers, it seems like he's slotted as the second one behind Marvin Harrison Jr. And I would think ahead of Rome Odunze. But yeah, I don't think that Malik would go to 14. The Saints, I know they're always about best available. I mean, you see them do in the past, especially, I think I saw Deuce on X yesterday, Deuce McAllister. Some fans I still can't believe you dropped to 23,
yeah.
And that was a shock because Ricky Williams was already on the team. They drafted Deuce. I don't think Malik's going to be there. So that'd be kind of a scary thing for the Saints because, my goodness, Jim, I know we talked about before, and I'm sure you talked about other people. They have a monster need at left tackle.
You can't screw it up, Garland.
Yeah,
you can't screw it up.
And at right tackle because we have no idea what Ryan Ramczyk is in store for here. Does he play at all this upcoming season? I mean, he's dealing with an injury concern. You have to get shored up at left tackle and right tackle there, unless Clint Kubiak can think he can resurrect the career of Trevor Penning and put him at left tackle. I don't know what they're going to do with James Hurst on that side, and then what you're going to do at right tackle, or we heard a lot about
Landon Young just comes out of the blue and.
Yeah, Landon Young, Nick Saldiveri, we heard a lot about, and then he got injured. So we'll see. But I think you definitely need help at left tackle and right tackle, and then maybe you can go edge. I mean, they only got in the first 2 days. They just had the first and second pick, so you got to make these things count. Unless your cohort Jeff Duncan was talking about for a first time in a long time trading down for more picks. I don't know if that's in the Saints' DNA with Mickey Loomis to trade down.
You're jumping ahead of the segue. You're
segueing,
you're segueing a little too early.
You didn't give me the rundown. No, I'm free flowing here, bud.
I didn't. You are. You're completely fine. I'm just kidding. But you look at these two guys, and to me, I think both of these guys have potential to be star receivers in the NFL. I mean, again, you and I talked about it a month and a half ago or so. Whenever you were on the show, you came on right after we hit the reboot on Dattitude. But I really think that some people say Thomas could be better than Nabers. They're two different kinds of receivers, I think. But Thomas in Cincinnati would be so intriguing if he were able to line up with Jamar Chase and play for Joe Burrow. How much fun would that be?
Yeah, and you know what? That's a good landing spot because that means that Brian Thomas wouldn't be the number one receiver right off the bat. I think this is going to be something to watch because Brian Thomas, the last time he was the number one receiver was when he was at Walker High School. Okay.
And he was
I know,
a damn good one.
Yeah. Oh, he was fantastic at Walker High, but he's a very quiet guy. It's hard to get a lot of, out of him when he, when he's doing these interviews, and that's just, the way he carries himself. There's no right way to carry yourself. You can be loud, you can be quiet. It's fine. But Malik Nabers was the number one receiver, and he got a lot of the attention. So I'm intrigued to see what Brian Thomas, if he goes into a team that has that, they need the number one receiver role. I don't know if that sets up for him right off the top as a rookie. I would like him to be on a team where there's already a receiver that's the dude, the number one receiver there, and you can kind of learn under him and then kind of spread his wings after.
How do you compare Malik Nabers to Jefferson or Chase and the stud receivers that LSU has had? I mean, does he fit in? Is he that good? Can he be that good?
No doubt. I mean, and he's intense too. Okay. And he's relentless. And just like, Jamar and Jefferson, he's from South Louisiana, I feel like we got to kind of we had this thing locked down here on receivers in South Louisiana. They know how, high schools kind of can take them in, mold them into great receivers, and they go to LSU. I mean, this is now, we used to call LSU DBU, and maybe they'll get back to that sooner or later, or Corey Raymond back in the fold. But right now, I mean, let's be honest, it's WRU, it's wide receiver U right now with the receivers that are in the NFL that are from the purple and gold there. I don't. By the way, I don't think Justin Jefferson is coming to Cleveland. I know there's a lot of heat around that, that that the Bengals would give up multiple first round picks for. I don't see that. I really hope that the Vikings trade up and get JJ McCarthy, and give Jefferson a real, a frontline quarterback. I know they have Sam Darnold, and I've heard, Sam Darnold can turn it around, under Coach O'Connell.
Right,
so we'll see. I don't want to see Justin Jefferson catching passes from Sam Darnold. I'd rather see him catching them from a up-and-coming quarterback that could possibly be a breakout star in the NFL.
I'm just going to say, I've said this before, my last year doing prep for the whole city, back when I was covering the entire city by myself, that was crazy. But that's a whole other story. But my final all-metro team, we had two wide receivers on it, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. And that is incredible to think. They were my two all-metro receivers, and they're the two best receivers in the NFL. It's insane.
Yeah, no, and Justin Jefferson was good at gesture hand,
right.
But I didn't expect him. Listen, you got to be fibbing, to say that you expected Justin Jefferson to be where he is today after what you watched out of gesture hand. Yeah,
you'd be lying if you said that.
He was a good receiver at Destrehan High. There is no chance I thought that was going to happen when he got to LSU. Jamar, I expected that. And I can say the same of OBJ. I thought when he came out of Newman, he was going to be a good receiver. But once they get into that program and the amount of receivers are on the roster every year at LSU, and the amount of guys that are have aspirations of being major D1 talents and then going to the NFL, it kind of raises the room, and they kind of feed off of the competition. So it's something about once you get to LSU, you go to another level, and we'll see that going forward here. I think Kyron Lacey, who went to Thibodeau High, and was at UL, and now he's in Baton Rouge, and he's the number one receiver. Chris Hilton, who we covered at Zachary High, I think he's in for a big time season also. I'm still waiting on Aaron Anderson. He's dealt with injuries. So they're the next crew of South Louisiana wide receivers is about to be in the NFL here in 2025, because there's a lot of them. That's why I think it's so fun covering. You and I both cover high school football, because I can name off the top of my head 5 to 10 dudes that we cover locally in high school that are going to be, I think, not only play college ball, but play pro ball in the future.
And we say it all the time, and I know I'm biased, but it's true. The facts show that it's true, that the quality of football per capita high school is as good or better than anywhere else in the country in this area. And we see it time after time, and we see these guys And some of them you like, oh, okay, that guy's going to play in the NFL. And some of them you don't necessarily think. I mean, I got to be honest. I don't know that I thought Justin Jefferson would be. I thought Jamar Chase would be an NFL player. But I didn't know Justin Jefferson would be an NFL player. And here he is, arguably the best receiver in the National Football League. And that's insane to say that. And he came from Destrehan High. All right, let's move on to the Saints portion of the show as we're starting to wrap it down here. About another 5-7 minutes here with Garland Gillen. If you want to get your last minute comments here on the Dattitude podcast this Monday morning, brought to you by Evangeline Securities. You can do so by typing in the comment stream no matter where you're watching. And if you listen to the podcast after the fact, you can just have a question in your head and maybe telepathically I'll get it before the question comes in your head and I'll read it here to Garland. We'll see how that works out. All right. Now, look, this is just a list of names that the Saints potentially can do on second day if they were going to go skill players. Okay, that's if they're going to go skill players. Before we get to that part of it, though, my thing is, and I think that the insiders may have said this on their podcast, I'm not sure, but I think that maybe a better potential spot to trade down for the Saints would be on day 2 and not day 1. And the reason being because I think as we've gone along now, we talked about Malik Nabers and his stock maybe dropping just a tad bit. And I think part of it is because there's a couple edge rushers that have moved up, and there's also potential of tackles moving higher in the draft. And Olu Fashanu, and I mean, we know Joe Alt's going to be gone, and we'll see where Fuaga lands and, whatever. But the Saints, I think, are kind of, unless just one of them's gone and they've got 3 of their choices are still there and they think they can move back 4 or 5 spots and do it and still get one of the tackles they want. I don't know that you can afford to take the chance to move down because we both agree that you've got to get a tackle, period. Amen, in round 1. So that being said, do you think that maybe round 2 is a chance to move down a little bit, even if it's to move down 10, 12, 14 spots and get yourself a 3rd round pick or a 4th round pick and maybe grab a guy that might drop a little bit?
Well, I'll say this, and they got what, 4 5th-round picks? I mean, you know, you got a lot.
Package it with that.
Yeah, you got a lot of cachet in the 5th round. A lot of picks there. There's a hole there, Jim, where you don't have a pick in the 3rd and 4th round. I think that's a little concerning. So, yeah, if you can drop down a little more in that 2nd round and maybe package that and get a 2nd rounder and then maybe get a 3rd rounder if you drop in some of those 5th round picks that you got in compensatory picks, that would be nice because you're right. There are some holes that need to be filled. I'm also very concerned about the safety position. I know that Jordan Howden is probably going to come in and be the starter opposite Tyrann Mathieu. You need someone else back there. I know they got Jonathan Abram back on a 1-year contract, but there's got to be other guys that are going to have to come into the fray there. So I think that's a spot also. Obviously interior defensive line. I know Brian Brzee probably is going to step up majorly this year, but there's some other spots, obviously defensive. That's
still something you also, though, and Garland, the Saints have shown this in the past. That's something I think they are better off at trying to attack in free agency from here. They still can attack in free. They still have some money.
You're right. You're right. And I'm still trying to figure out what's going to happen with Andres Pete. I mean, is anybody want him at all? They just going to keep watching his price keep fall.
Look, I think a lot depends on what the Saints do in this draft. And I think the Saints haven't actively gone out of their way to make sure that he stays because they do want to see what they do in the draft. I mean, look, Andres Pete played one of his best seasons here. There haven't been a ton of excellent seasons from Andres Pete, but I thought he kind of went unsung, and I've been on him as much as anyone. But I thought he was, I don't want to say outstanding, but he was good when he came in and they okay, we're done with Trevor Penning. And by the way, speaking of Trevor Penning, Mark's comment there, is Trevor Penning going to turn it around? In short, no. That's just my opinion.
Well, you know what? They got a new offensive line coach in there. Some people are trying to point that maybe Doug Marrone, wasn't good for Trevor Penning. So
how was that guy a head coach in the NFL?
2 places, not 1. He's 2 places. He's the head coach.
How does that happen?
Yeah, no. Because you know what? He was on the Sean Payton tree, and Sean Payton's got, he's got some pull in this league. And
watch what's going to happen with Dan Campbell going forward, by the way. That team's about to take a nosedive. I'm just saying.
Oh,
That'll be
all
one
right.
of my off-season predictions, just to give you a little heads up about the Detroit Lions.
You know what? I would feel good if I picked against the Lions this year, because last year I ate some crow. I was against the Lions is one of my big misses this past year. So was the Bucks.
I did too.
I nailed the Saints at 9-8. I nailed a few others. But yeah, I missed big time. You know what? I was trying to be contrarian. Everybody was zigging. I tried to zag because everybody was on the Lions last year. So I figured I would just go the opposite way. And, sometimes it's fun to go the opposite way. My bet of the week on Thursday on Final Bet was I took the Clippers against the Mavericks in the series, not just game one, the series. Everybody was on the Mavericks to win that series. Everybody. So even on the show the other night, I said, I'm going the other way. I'm taking the Clippers. Now, it's only one game. The Clippers won, and Kawhi Leonard was actually out of that game. But that's one to keep an eye on there. I think I might nail that on the Final Bet. We'll see.
I think you got it right. And a final bet idea for you. I mean, we're about to go in the summer. We can talk maybe our top 2 or 3 favorite overs that we like, and top 2 or 3 favorite unders that we like.
Once the draft is done, and then I think the schedule is going to come out in early May.
Early May.
That is like golden season. Once I got those 2 things to draft, that's why I can't believe. And Jim, we talked about this on Final Bet, and I'm sure you talked about this on Dattitude. I can't believe they put the over-unders out before the draft happens.
It is weird. They did it last year too. So
it's good publicity for these sports books. We're talking about it there, and it gets some action. I mean, I guess they only think there's about 5 to 10 rookies that are actually contribute, and that's why I think the Bears over-under win total right now is 8.5. I think they're just banking on Caleb Williams being the quarterback. So I think they only took a chance on like a few of those teams. And the Falcons, they overcorrected that already with the bettors when it started 10.5 and dropped to 9.5 very quickly. But yeah, once we get through the draft, once we get through the schedules announced in early May, then yeah, we can definitely you'll definitely come on a few times there. We can definitely go through the over-unders. I'm also waiting for the over-unders for the college football teams outside the group. I guess they're calling it the Power Four, the Core Four now.
You were making up 2 lanes.
Yeah. I was making up 2 lanes there. I said 9.5. And by the way, their spring game, I don't know if you saw, they have between 3,000 and 5,000 fans there. Yeah. They don't know what they're going to do at the quarterback spot yet. I think it's still between Kai Horton and Ty Thompson. I don't think Derry Mensah, the redshirt freshman, I don't think he's really in the mix there. But man, they're killing NIL, by the way. I just reported a little while ago that Kai Prian, who I covered at St. James, and he was at LSU for a year, looks like he's going to Tulane. Another wide receiver from St. James going to Tulane. They already got Shaz Preston in the mix. I know you and I have talked about this. I love John Summerall. I think he's going to do a fantastic job there. So that 9.5, I'm intrigued to see. You know what? When that probably finally comes out, I'll bet it'll be around 9, the over-under win total, because they got Kansas State and Oklahoma. But when those win totals for every FBS team come out, that'll be another fun thing to go through.
3,000 to 5,000 at a spring game. That's almost as many as, I don't know, Romo or Brother Martin.
No. Hey, I mean, they're getting excited. I mean, you know what? Usually spring games is friends and family only, okay? So there was a little more than friends and family. And, their first 2 games are Southeastern and Kansas State. And the Southeastern game's on a Thursday night. So, the students haven't left town yet for Labor Day weekend. So that'll be a fantastic game. And then you got Kansas State at home. That's going to be good, man. I mean, I know it's so far off, but I get excited.
It's really not. My birthday's always week 0 weekend, so it's always.
I love me some week 0. I mean, give me Notre Dame and Dublin, Ireland. I'm gonna watch it.
I don't know why, but the past 2 years in a row, I've been on Final Bet for week 0, and you always like talking about Notre Dame and Dublin. I guess because there's nothing else to talk about. But
no, I mean it was the 1 o'clock game. I think the year before was even a bigger,
shellacking.
It was a stinker too. It was Northwestern against Nebraska.
Like 49-0.
Yeah, there's usually some really bad games, but you know what? It's week 0 and the games actually count for real. So that's exciting. I mean, right now, I'm not gonna lie, Jim. I don't know how many of your watchers and listeners, but I've been watching UFL. They got some intriguing.
Not as much as usual. Not as much as I did the last couple of years, but it is good for. There's just been so much going on, and like last week was Masters weekend, I didn't have time to watch it. Pels going on this weekend. It's just, there's so much going on. All right, before I let you go, I do want to talk about these potential these kind of guys on the left side of the screen here. I
Oh,
put
yeah,
five guys down. I want to get your thought. I put Keon Coleman first. These aren't in any particular order. Ladd McConkey's probably going to go before the other four guys. So they're definitely not in any sort of order. Ladd McConkey is projected to go like early second round. But Keon Coleman could be like a late second round or early third round pick. The reason why I put some of these names that could go as late as the third round and the Saints don't have a third round pick is because if they do trade down like we talked about, maybe package their second and a fifth or a second and 2/5 to get a lower second and a third, which is certainly possible. You could see one of these guys come in the mix. And if they're going to take one of the receivers, I really do like Keon Coleman because I think he fits this scheme. But I also, a name to watch out for, if they can find a way to get that extra pick, the Saints are starting to, I think they need running back as much or more as they need a receiver, maybe even a little more. I'd be watching out for Jalen Wright because we've already got one Tennessee running back that came in, and I know he doesn't catch passes like Alvin Kamara does, but Jalen Wright could be a name that would be a nice fit here in New Orleans as well.
You're right, and there's a little whispers that could Alvin Kamara be back. I no doubt think Alvin Kamara can be back. Yeah, he'll be back. Might as well get a little more out of him there before you send him on his way. I mean, I know the shelf life of running backs it isn't good there. Yeah, I do like it because behind him you got injury concerns with one running back. You got touchdown concerns about the other running back. Notwithstanding the one he got in the
Jameis isn't here anymore. He might not score. Jamal Williams might not score again with Jameis gone.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he got that one touchdown, so you definitely, I mean, it's a down season for him. So, I kind of like the idea of getting a running back. If you can trade back into the third round, that would be definitely intriguing. You can find them. I mean, we all learned, Antonio Pittman was the big draft pick. And then here comes Pierre Thomas out of Illinois and just swooped in and jacked Antonio Pittman's job. So you can get a bargain guy that can blow out for the running back position there. But I think Alvin Kamara in this new offense. I think Clint Kubiak. I mean, I'm not predicting a Christian McCaffrey type season, but I definitely see Kamara. After everything he's been dealing with the last few years with Vegas, I think that's all out of the way.
I agree, but he's also 29 years old. This is the number. And I hate to keep saying this, bringing this up, but there's a reason why you can go back and look at factual data. I mean, when the running backs hit 29 or 30, and we saw with, Derrick Henry last year, he started to take a turn downward. And part of it is because he gets used so damn much. But so does Alvin Kamara, for that matter. In fact, we're going to get into Alvin Kamara in my extra point. The extra point is on the 2017 draft. So, but I'll just say this, that I think if he does have that Alvin Kamara type season left in him, he's only got one.
Yeah.
Hey, be realistic.
Yeah, he's definitely on the back end of his career, and I'd like to see something here. I keep hearing about how Clint Kubiak can, resuscitate this run game this year. So I'm ready to see it. The problem is you need to find somebody to block for you when you're going to run these. And right now they don't have those dudes. They might have those guys. We will see. I mean, if free agency still is out there, you mentioned how they have money in the draft. So this next few weeks, I say next few weeks, I say the draft this week, and then maybe still grab another guy in free agency. It will be intriguing.
I see these silly social media supposed Saints fan sites that are saying there are rumors that the Saints are going to do this and do that and get. Everybody wants a skill player because it's sexy and it's fun. But you can't do anything with sexy and fun if you don't go get a damn tackle and have an offensive line that can block for your quarterback. Sexy and fun only happens when you have time to throw the ball or a hole to run through to get yards. Yeah.
Hey, I'm with you. This is. I look forward to Thursday night. I'm going to be covering the Zurich Classic all day, and then I'm going to turn on a football mode there because I want to make sure that the Commanders get this right with pick 2 with Jaden Daniels, and then we'll see what the Saints do.
They will.
They better. I don't want to see Jaden go to the Patriots. I think the Patriots is a dumpster fire.
I say this every show, for at least for the last month or so, and I know it's self-serving and it's free. It's advertisement for us here at NOLA.com, but if the Saints don't draft a tackle or if they trade up, you're going to want to watch the NOLA.com live draft show on Thursday night, 4 or 5 hour show, however long the first round lasts. You're going to want to see me go off, Garland. It's going to be free TV. That's free entertaining TV on draft night.
NOLA draft show. So who else are we going to have on the show here? Who's going to go off?
and I are hosting. We did. Okay. This will be a second year in a row. Gabe Henderson, who's in the green room, he'll be help producing. But all of our beat writers are going to be on board at Saints camp, and we're going to have a live show, and it'll be a lot of fun. So
you might go off the handle. You might go off the handle a few times here, Pauls.
They don't draft a tackle, or let's say if some weird, strange circumstance of Brock Bowers falling to 14, which ain't happening. But if they don't do one of those two things, you're going to want to watch. I'm just saying. You're going
to have like a Buddy D meltdown here.
Oh, yeah. Something along almost exactly the way you just did it. It'll be something along those lines. You want to watch it. So enjoy draft week, my friend. Enjoy the Zurich Classic. All things going on. Maybe we'll get to sleep in a week and a half or so.
Hey, once the draft's over with and we got Pelicans, and then, one of my favorite things a lot of people don't get excited about, but I like spring football with high school, Yeah. Maybe I'll venture over to the West Bank, the best bank, to see your boys over at Shaw. Hey, Hank Tierney's got 2 stud recruits there in Jasper Parker and James Washington, a running back and receiver. So, I'll get to like 5-10 high schools in May to get us ready. Hey, Fox 8 Football Friday is right around the corner on Friday night. So, and you'll be on VSN screaming and yelling at some high school inside Louisiana. So I can't wait.
Screaming and yelling. You act like that's all I do is scream and yell.
Well, that's all I hear on X. So I don't get to see your entire game. I only get the cut-ups that are on
clips. Yeah.
The cutout clips. And in all those cutout clips, we talk about zigging and zagging. You should be, when there's a game-winning touchdown, you just go, 50-yard touchdown, game winner. They win.
I don't think I have it in me, my friend. I think if that happens,
just go monotone. Just go monotone. No, touchdown, win. Have a good night.
Shaw to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. One time, scared. Jim Rapier's used to you screaming and yelling and hooting and hollering. Yeah, give him a little kind of shock the daylights out of him and be like, touchdown.
Jim Rapier is the yin to my yang. If he were like me, it would never work. You couldn't have 2 guys like me together. So, I'll go off on this 20-second long tirade about how great a play was, and he'll say, wow. I mean, he's not the best color man in the business for nothing, folks. So I'll have you on with me one of these times, and we'll have some fun.
Yes, indeed.
All right, Garland, we'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.
Garland Gillen of Fox 8. We always have a good time. I know I say that about a lot of my guests, but that's why we have, I do go through a rotation, I guess, of maybe 8 or 10 guys, and most of them that we have a lot of fun here on the show. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to have fun on this show, and I think we do for the most part. Speaking of having fun, we're going to have fun with today's extra point. All right, I've been Derry. I put the wrong extra point in there. No, I didn't. Okay, I did. I thought I put the wrong one in there. I've been Derry down on a lot last week. Talked about a couple horrendous Saints drafts. We talked about Ricky Williams. We talked about Alex Molden being drafted over Eddie George. God, I can't believe I just said that again. Happened 27 years ago. I'm still pissed off about it. But we thought we would start this 2024 NFL Draft Week with a positive. How about in the 21st century, there arguably, and it's maybe not even an argument, hasn't been a better Saints draft than 2017. In the first round, the Saints had 2 number 1 picks, and with the 11th overall selection, they chose Ohio State cornerback Marshawn Lattimore, who ranked 5th in the league in 2017 with 5 interceptions and was named the NFL's Defensive Rookie of the Year. And in an incredible rarity, sorry, it's true, the Saints even got their second first-round pick right. Those few times when they do have 2 first-round picks. How many times have they made 2 first-round picks where they got both of them right? Well, they did it here. They took a staple on their offensive line for the next half-decade plus with Ryan Ramczyk out of Wisconsin with the 32nd overall selection. Ramczyk was all-pro from 2018 through 2020 and has now played in 101 games with the Saints. Is that going to end? How it's going to end? It's a whole different story. We're going to stay positive here. Second round pick, maybe a little bit more debatable. We don't want to think about the Minneapolis Miracle. Did I just say that out loud? Oh, shh. Stop saying that. Cornerback Marcus Williams from Utah was a very effective player, but it was the third round gem that arguably is the best third round pick in team history, and frankly, one of the best third round picks ever. With the 67th overall pick in the 2017 draft, the Saints took a guy named Alvin Kamara. In fact, at the time, we didn't know if it was Kamara. People didn't even know. There were people pronouncing it all kinds of different ways at the time. He rushed for just 1,294 yards with 16 touchdowns at Tennessee. But Sean Payton obviously drooled over his combination of speed, power, and ability to catch passes out of the backfield. Something he did 74 times in 2 seasons for 683 yards and 7 touchdowns with the Volunteers. To say it has worked out for Kamara in New Orleans might be the understatement of understatements, as he now has totaled more than 10,000 total offensive yards with 77 touchdowns and 505 receptions. Is that good? 505 catches? I don't know if that's good or not. Sounds good. Then 2 of the final 3 picks, linebacker Alex Anzalone of Florida and edge rusher Trey Henderson of Florida Atlantic, were big-time starters on defense and have both played in conference championships now, started in conference championship games with other teams. Henderson making the first sack in Super Bowl 56 against the Rams. And then there was Al-Qadim Muhammad. Look, 6th-round pick. Played just 1 year, but he went to Indy for 4 seasons. I think he's played in 70 NFL games. So I think he's out of the league now. But, hey, for a 6th-round pick, not bad. Well, the Saints have that kind of draft again this go-round. Now, it's very improbable considering they don't have enough picks early on. Hence why we continue to say trading down might be the way to go. See, I told you I could be positive. That is how you start a week here on the Dattitude podcast. Even I can do it. If I can start a week positive, you can start a week positive. The problem is, I think I'm out of happy, joy for the day. So, I don't know. I just have a feeling this is going to be a good week. Certainly going to be a busy one, as we talked about with Garland. We told you that Dattitude is sharing the spotlight Thursday night with the Saints Insider podcast. Zach Ewing and I will be hosting a live show throughout the first round of the draft. More on that coming up. In fact, on Thursday, Zach's going to come on the show, and we're going to preview what we're going to be talking about all night. We will have live reports from our beat writers at Saints Camp, as well as our thoughts and analysis from all the picks Thursday night as we go through and beyond the Saints pick. Whether the Saints remain at 14, trade up, God forbid, or down, we will remain on the air for all 32 picks, and you can see it live here on all these NOLA.com social media channels. If you listen after the fact on the podcast, make sure you go subscribe to the Dattitude YouTube page. Join us Thursday night. And, of course, we will be taking comments and questions throughout the show, as we always do. So that is going to wrap it up for this Monday. I want to thank today's guest, Garland Gillen, and, as always, Gabe Henderson behind the scenes. And we hope you can join us next on Wednesday when we will welcome in Jeff Duncan. Dunk has not been on the show for a little while. It's going to be fun. We'll be previewing the Saints draft. We'll be talking about Dunk's book, along with Steve Gleason. All that coming up on Wednesday. A reminder, one more time, to subscribe to the Dattitude YouTube page and click the little bell to receive notifications when we go on the air live. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and you can find a replay of the show on NOLA.com/sports. Enjoy this final blast of cool weather, everybody. We will see you on Wednesday. Take it easy, my friends.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.